All right, shalom, everyone. All right, welcome to the Tuesday night Torah study. It looks like it's going to get a little stormy out there, but it's going to be nice in here. Fantastic. Welcome, Billy, to your first live Torah study. Exciting for those people when they move here to get their first this and the first that, and everything's a first, right? All right. So welcome to all of you. I know we have some people on live stream. I know some of them are probably new, and as we get going here, let me kind of explain. So, of course, some people are going to find this a few minutes later, and they're going to wonder, well, what is this we're doing? I mean, I'll already have explained it. All right, so on Tuesday nights, what we do with our Torah studies, that we're going to go through the Torah portion, the weekly Torah portion. This week is Pinchas. We're going to read the Torah portion. Actually, we're going to start off with some prayer time. Take up the prayer needs here locally. Then we'll go through the readings of the Torah portion, and then we'll go through some quick announcements, and then we'll discuss what we read. So if you are here, make sure your phones are to silent. If you're on live stream, go ahead and make sure, even live here, you may want to have something to take some notes on and make a little place for you to note a verse or two that you might want to ask a question about or make a comment about, and so be ready for that. I have got mine ready to go here for me. Because like you, I also listen to the readings and make notes and allow the Ruach to, inspire something to ask a question about or make a comment about or whatever, okay? So you should want to do that. Okay, so we're going to begin with prayer. So if you have a prayer need, we'll go ahead and stall a little bit so Manny can get settled in over there and start taking stuff from the live stream. I would assume we have Kurt and or Rob are both online. Is it you and Rob tonight? Okay. All right. So for the live stream, please give Rob and Manny your respectful submission and attention to the protocols of the live stream. Okay. Excellent. All right. So if you have a prayer request or a praise report that you want to share here, you can go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll call you up to the mic. We'll begin with Rabbi Tom, and then if you're on live stream, we'll ask the people on live stream at this time to minimize the chatting and allow the prayers and praises to be typed in so that Manny can make note of those. All right? I know you guys are excited at the very beginning here, and you want to say, hey, how are you? Hey, what's going on? And congratulations about this or that, or how's that thing that we talked about going, or whatever. I know that's an exciting thing to do. But right now, we just want to take the praise and the prayers up. Okay. So, Rabbi Tom, go ahead. You wanted to get us started.
Oh, I should know better than that. Okay. I'd like to ask for some in-depth and urgent prayer for my number 2 granddaughter, Hannah. She's had a breakdown of sorts again, and she's in a psychiatric hospital. She's only 15, so she's had a lot of trauma in her life, and just manifests itself once in a while. So if we could keep her in prayer, please.
Amen. Amen. This is becoming more and more of an issue. I don't mean like Hannah specifically, but just people dealing with or not dealing with their psychological and emotional stuff, or not knowing how to deal with it, or having resources to deal with it. And I don't think society's done a very good job of dealing with it, over the centuries and stuff. But it's something that we deal with more and more here in the ministry as well, is that, people contact us and they're really struggling with anxiety or insecurities or depression or other things, and then they really lose it in their ability to function, or their relationships, or suicidal things or whatever. I mean, they just or escapes into things like drugs and alcohol or whatever. It's a really rough world out there, and that's why we should be, hopefully within the body, having a lot less of that, because we should have the trust and the emunah that points us to the Father being in charge, and that everything, if we can anchor onto that and latch onto that, will be okay. Maybe not okay like right this second, and maybe not okay like the way I want it to be okay, but it'll be okay, Because I'll tell you what, and I'm not complaining about it, it's just a reality. And you start off in a small home fellowship, you don't get these kind of things. You get a little bit smaller group, because these bigger groups get different things than the little groups do, because people are more reluctant to ask, especially if you're not anointed, appointed, certified, whatever. They don't normally want to share with you. But once you get into full-time ministry and you get a bigger group, they're looking, people need help. And sadly, 15-year-old Hannah didn't get a whole lot of help. And not that the family just ignored her, but, what does a 15-year-old do with all that? And I know some of the things that she's been going through, and there's not always a lot of things that you can do. But you know what? Some of you are struggling with the same kinds of stuff, whatever that is, and you're not 15, but you're 50, or anything in between, or older. And so, we have to develop the first thing. Let me just use this as a teaching moment for all of you as I stall a little bit for Manny to get more of his stuff done. Okay? We had 3 teachings on Saturday. I don't know how many we're going to get tonight. So, but we have to take at least that first initial responsibility to own the responsibility to get help. Okay? And that help doesn't necessarily always mean the ministry, because it may be something that's outside the scope of what the ministry is trained and capable of doing, that you might need to go out and get professional help. But we have to be, if you are dealing with a sniffle or whatever, you figure you can handle that at home and you take something for your allergies or for your head cold. But then sometimes you get sick enough where you realize, I need to go to a doctor. Well, emotionally we got the same thing, but we don't seem to we feel more stigmatized or shamed or some other thing, and we don't get the help. But we have a body full, and I'm not saying that to judge or pick on. All of us are struggling with our stuff and have very limited motivation within ourselves to go get the help we need. We're just not driven to realize that that's the same thing as coming down with something that you can't just handle with the stuff that's in your medicine chest. Well, you might need to go get a doctor to take an x-ray or to take some blood tests or whatever it is, when you have something more challenging to figure out what to do. See, when we don't know what to do, we look to a professional to find out what to do. If you don't know anything about cars and your car is making a weird noise, you bring it to somebody who's a professional who can tell you what the weird noise is. That's the same thing should be for the psychological and emotional stuff. We've got to get beyond, look, there's only 2 choices, okay? You either deal with your stuff and go get help, or you're going to end up in a mess. If you're already in a mess, you're going to stay in the mess, or it's only going to get worse if you don't accept responsibility that you primarily have to go seek the help you need. And that includes us. We try the best we can with things that are within our scope of what we can handle. And don't be offended if we tell you that's beyond what we can handle. You need to go somewhere else. But you need to, we're not just throwing you to someone. You need to go actively find the help you need. Most people don't take advantage of this, but almost every insurance program does cover some mental health benefits. See, and you're afraid that people are going to think you're crazy. Listen, if you're dealing with this stuff bad enough, everybody already knows you're dealing with something. You're not kidding anybody. You're not hiding it well enough. And it's written all over your face and your body language and the way you react to everything. It's already there. So don't kid yourself. And it's not a shameful thing. You know what's a shameful thing? Not doing anything about it. Okay, I just want to encourage you all to own, remember we said own it. That includes all this stuff. Fix it? Well, maybe you don't know what to do. So then what do you do when you have to fix something you don't know what to do? Seek a professional. Spiritual stuff, you come to a ministry person. Physical stuff, like a car, you go to an auto mechanic. If it's your toilet or your sink, you go to a plumber. Guess what? If it's your head, you go to somebody that deals with stuff that goes on in your head. Oh, but I don't like, and they're just going to want to put me on medic. Listen, do you know that you have the freedom to decide to do or not do whatever they ask you or tell you to do, but at least you can go and find out what's going on? Wouldn't it be nice to know that you are on the autistic spectrum, if that's your problem, or that you have, opposition defiance, ODD, or that you have, ADD, or that you have, whatever it is. Wouldn't it be nice to at least know what it is? And then you have a choice of what you do with it? I've tried to send people to the medical doctors for physical problems, and they're like, oh, but they're going to want to put me on. Who cares what they're going to want to put you on? You don't have to go on it. At least find out what it is. What if it's not what you think it is? You don't know what kind of counsel they're going to give you. Okay, but we've got to start. If do you think the kingdom's going to be full of a bunch of people that don't own at least themselves? And the body thinks it's, Yeshua's going to come next week because of the next blood moon or asteroid, or this COVID-19 is the end times. No. But they're going to make us wear masks. That's got to be end times. End times? Go live in a country where you don't have indoor plumbing and you think you're suffering because you got to wear a mask. If that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? But here you're so spoiled, you think it must be the end times because the stores are closing at 8 o'clock at night. And the restaurants were shut down for a while. That's end times. Are you kidding me? You don't have to get in line to get this toilet paper at the store. You did for a couple of weeks. But you don't. We don't have a good perspective. We lack perspective because we're so into ourselves and our own stuff and what we're dealing with that we don't have the perspective. There's so much stuff going on in the world that makes this place look like a paradise, and you don't even appreciate it. You know why? Because your paradise isn't as shiny as it was before COVID-19. All right? So it's slightly less shiny right now. We don't know where this is headed. But no matter where it's headed for at least a good little while, it's still better than where a lot of people are right now and where they've been for centuries. You don't have to worry about clean water. You don't have to boil your water first just to drink it. A lot of places they do that because they can't drink the water. Indoor plumbing. Refrigeration so you can store food. I mean, some of you's biggest frustration is you didn't have, a barbecue for 4th of July so you can do your own barbecuing because you didn't have the money to buy a barbecue. That's so horrible. I feel terrible for you. Let's appreciate more. All right? If we appreciate more, we'll be less stressed, less frustrated. Because you know what causes almost all of that frustration and stress? It's either fear or it's craving. I want and I don't have. I want, but I don't have. So I'm upset now because I want and I don't have. Or I'm mad because somebody else has and I don't have. That 10th commandment is the beast of the commandments. Wanting, craving what other people have. That jealousy, that envy. That's a tough one. Okay, I'm just saying that all out because as in our spoiled little world, as it keeps getting worse, mental health is going to be a bigger issue and a bigger issue and a bigger issue and a bigger issue and a bigger issue. Depression's going through the roof in this country, probably in most countries. Anxiety's going through the roof. Insecurities, panics. Look, how do I want to explain this? Abba allows things to happen often to expose issues that were always there inside of you. I told you this during the tithing teaching, that tithing will expose if you have a greed problem, like if you're attached and love your money, or if you have a finance problem and that's why you don't have any money. But tithing will bring out to the surface whether or not you have a problem. Guess what? Coming into Torah observance, some of you are learning, not maybe in here, but even online, that you have a marriage problem. Because until you guys were on different pages spiritually, you didn't realize how much of a marriage problem you might actually have. As far as respecting each other, walking together. Because some people call up with their unequally yoked problems, and I said, well, don't get mad at the fact that he popped your bubble and didn't pop your spouse's bubble, so now you see and they don't. I see a lot of those that actually go relatively smoothly, if you understand what I'm saying. Not perfect, but smoothly. After initial rockiness. But some of them go really bad because there's other marriage issues that just were there, and the person knows that they were there. It just brings them to the surface. Well, guess what? Some of the stuff that's going on right now in the world is being allowed to happen to expose in you stuff that needed to come out, like your fears, your anxieties, your panics, your insecurities, or maybe your lack of finances to be able to handle a hiccup for a little while because that hiccup took all what little bit of savings you had left. It reminds me of a guy who called me up all mad when I was a commodities broker, and he was all mad because he had lost his, $1,500 in his account, which is not why he was upset. What he was upset about, he said, that was my whole retirement. I said, dude, you got bigger problems than that if you thought you were going to retire on $1,500. I mean, I'm upset for you that you lost $1,500. That's still a lot of money. But that was going to pay what? 1-2 months expenses? You're going to retire for only 1 month? 2 months? I mean, how long could you live on $1,500? It's a perspective problem. We need to really shift our perspective and how we see things. We need a perspective adjustment. And that would help us with all of our fears and anxieties. Start off by recognizing that you are a child of the living Elohim. We talked about that on Shabbat in the 3 verses we covered. Okay? Verse 1, you are a child of the living Elohim. Well, if that's the case, what are you worried about? Oh, you're all cocky and ready to get in people's faces when you're attacked, saying, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and blah, blah, blah. But you're afraid of all this. Why? So you get all blustery like the little dog that wants to bark aloud, but they're just a tiny little dog, and then you're just, but you got all this bravado going on, But where's all that go when things get a little challenging? Either he is or he isn't, and either he's got a plan or he doesn't, and either you're a part of that plan or you're not. And if the answer to all of them is he is, there's a plan and I'm a part of it, take a breath. Have some faith. Yeshua said, when I come back, will I find any faith? I don't know. I wonder too. All right, who's next after all that? Did I stall long enough for you? Okay, Billy's got one. Mr. Billy Jackson, everyone. Wow. That was underwhelming. Okay, go ahead.
Just want to ask for prayer for my dad. I got a call when I was running home that they moved him to ICU. And I'm the oldest boy of 5 children. I have an older sister. So my 2 sisters and the brother below me, they're all freaking out, having anxiety attacks and all the nonsense. And they're just observing him right now and giving him some fluids to hopefully get the fluid from around his heart down. Worst case scenario, they may have to do emergency surgery. So, I've just asked for prayer for them. I've been supporting them as you teach us. And, what can you do? But pray. There's nothing you can do. You can't go see him because of COVID. But, we're believing that Abba's will be done. No matter what he decides, we accept it. So.
Amen. Amen. For those of you that are familiar with the color code, that personality color thing that we all did, well, most of us did, I need you to embrace the motto of the red, okay? At least one of the mottos of the red, which is, it is what it is. And then be able to accept that reality. Things are. We have feelings in response to the things that are, but they just are. I mean, everybody will get sick at some point. Some people will recover from whatever it is, It could be heart attacks, it could be strokes, it could be pneumonia, it could be COVID, it could be anything. People do get older and do die. Things just are. And they never seem to happen when everybody's happy and ready for it, and because who wants that anyway? So you're not ever going to be that, Most of the time it comes at a time when you're like, but I'm not ready for them to go. Well, maybe they're not ready to go either, but it is what it is. Okay? It's not callously cold or whatever. It will minimize your anxiety if you can embrace that, though. Because you'll recognize in the bigger picture of things what little you have to do with it. It's in his hands, not yours. The only thing you really have anything that you can do much with is you. And hopefully that could be a blessing to others in what little time you have interacting with them, you know. But you really only have control over you. That's our problem, is our frustration with our lack of ability to control everything. Are you listening, Blues? That's part of the big frustration. All right. Anybody else here? Okay, Manny.
Okay, so on that same exact note, I just wanted to also throw out a prayer request for my partner in crime tonight. Tonight's camera eye candy sitting next to me, whose grandfather is actually in the hospital, who's been put on a ventilator, and they don't know if he's going to make it.
Okay, so Caleb's grandfather, okay.
Yes, sir. All right, Gail Peace tonight says she's continuing to have a very, very difficult week and post-total hip replacement. So please pray for good news from MD appointment tomorrow. Sherry says prayers for my safe arrival on Friday. And that is true. A lot of prayers out there for people come in for the picnic, for Erev Shabbat, and for our Shabbat.
Yeah, I have a few things to say about that when we get to that as well.
Let's see. Janice, pray for my son Daniel. He is in need of repentance. Brides of the Harvest, one of our four-legged fur babies is having surgery tomorrow at 9 a.m. So prayers for the fur baby. Pete and Brenda Lamb, prayers for safe travels for the mixed multitude headed to Cleveland. All right. Let's see. Janice again, praise Yah for my ability to understand Rabbi and the fact that I am growing in my not being fearful. Amen. Reich, prayer request. Mother tested positive for COVID and has been transferred to the hospital. Shirley, prayers for employment for son. Unspoken prayers as well as prayers for those grieving the loss for somebody, and strength and comfort for them. Melanie, pray for our family safe travels to Cleveland this weekend. Michelle, praise that my son is starting to follow Torah. Amen. Melissa Rogers, prayers for former client who has cancer and is having some heart issues. Her name is Mary. Greg and Mary Wallen. Mary says, praise Yah, Chelsea's COVID test came back negative, so her and I will be seeing you this weekend. Amen. Paul Rippey, let's see. I might have missed half of his message because I see continued prayer for Yahweh to straighten out my finances so I can move there to attend services in person instead of live stream that messes up often. Let's see. Gina Townsend, prayer request. Please pray for my husband, Michael. He's been struggling within his walk. Please pray for God's will in every aspect of his life and our family. Carrie Ann, prayer request. Please pray for the healing of my Haley, and for all the needs of my Marco Polo sisters and the body. Philip Mason, prayers for those in the body needing mental strength and shalom. Please pray for Sarah Beth as she prepares for surgery, and praise that my recovery is going well. Amen.
Amen.
Shelley, prayers for my many sisters and brothers that are having struggles with physical and mental health, and praises to Yahweh for continued growth in my walk and understanding of studies and some unspoken. Santi Lee, prayers for guidance, protection, and providence of young adult fellowship in my house. Stephanie, prayer requests that my interview goes well on Thursday morning concerning the apartment I applied for. Based on my income, I need a place to live, but Yah's will be done. Amen. Olivia and Janet Hoffman, praises for much discernment received in our family and for healing and unity in our marriage. We give thanks to Yahweh for the wisdom and the transformational teaching received by Rabbi. Thank you, Father. Mr. A. Apologetic, prayer request. He says, this is Rich Wheeler. My dad is in the ER testing for stroke and or blood pressure heart symptoms. So he's requesting prayers for that. Francis, please pray for my aging parents as they are entertaining their last days on this planet. They have been in mainstream Christianity their entire lives and are struggling with fear and shalom. Brides of the Harvest, prayer request for my daughter in the faith miscarried her second child last week. Funeral was yesterday. Second miscarried child within a year. I pray that Yah shows us what we need to carry full term. Christian says, praise from Texas. Oh, I look forward to Mondays because it's Torah Tuesday Eve. I thank MTOI for all the prolific teachings for free. Thank you, Rabbi Steve and Rabbi Tom. This one's from Double. Shalom. Oh, from the Roberts family. Prayer request for our family as a unit. Amy, prayer request. We went for an 18-week ultrasound yesterday and found out that our baby girl had passed away. Prayers for peace and safety in the next few days are appreciated. Stephanie Henderson, prayers for every request and praise Yah for our anointed, appointed rabbi and MTOI worldwide. Amen. Nancy Hose prays that surgery is behind me, and I thank you for your prayers, but I'm asking prayer for pain management, no DVT or infection. Peter Carl, praise Yah for Rabbi Steve, MTOI, and the blessings of free teachings, resources, love and shalom, blessings in L. Oh. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Janice, praying for your... Oh, she's talking to somebody. Never mind. Let's see. Sarah, prayers for our dog Zeke. He had 3 seizures today. Glenn and Teresa, prayers for my wife and some unspoken. Abba does answer prayers, and she's making great improvements. Amen. Mark, praise Yah for my second round of job interview later today, and thanks MTOI for being a light to the world. Praise Yah. And last one I have here on screen, Kay Carrick, praise Abba for walking with me through my marriage trial. My marriage is healing and better than before. Thank you, Rabbi, for your wise counsel, and thank you to all of MTOI ministry team as well. Amen.
Amen. All right. Do want to, as always, add that we want to pray for all those that have contacted us since Shabbat. And what was that? Try one more time.
Having technical difficulties back here. I did forget one that was written to me.
All right, go ahead.
This one's from Kenya, Washington. Prayers for wisdom in choosing alternative health care, nursing home for father that insurance will cover and better meets the needs and is closer to Kenya's home.
Okay, we can do that. But we do want, like I said, we want to pray for all those that have contacted us in Shabbat. We often get a very busy Monday, and yesterday was one of those. The phone just rings off the hook. We probably miss almost as many calls as we get that go through because there's just too many that come through and then they get bounced and they end up in voicemail or something. But so keep us in prayer with that as the staff tries to handle all of the volume that comes in. You know, we're in some ways a very large ministry, in a lot of ways a very small ministry. Okay, when you can piece the two things together, you know, in terms of the ability to handle the volume that can come in, and that volume comes in from everywhere on Earth, you know, around, you know, it could be anywhere around the world that we'll get contacted with, you know, and when I say anywhere, I mean even like Antarctica, okay, anywhere. We can get contacted. We have people in Australia, New Zealand, all throughout Europe, South Africa, and other places in Africa, everywhere, okay? Even like Georgia, Alabama, no, I'm kidding. So, I mean, it really could be from really anywhere. And so keep the staff in prayer because, you know, we are somewhat challenged in the volume that comes. We're about to add, I think we'll add Rabbi Tom. We're trying to get some technology over to him so he can answer more calls because he would like to do that. So we're going to try to add him into the rollover mix there. Okay. We're also looking to add to the staff so that could also help with the volume, you know, and that kind of a thing. I want us to there was something else that came up from one of the things that were said, and I can't remember now where I was going, because then Manny added that extra one. Okay, we won't worry about that. Okay, so I do want us to continue to pray for the response to the response, whether just the response, whatever it has to do with the COVID thing, because of the, at the same time, the backlash against the police departments and everything else. The violence has gone incredibly up. I mean, just over this weekend, there was over 100 and something% increase in some of the bigger cities in the violence and the murders and the violent crimes and all that kind of stuff. And it's so the world is getting more dangerous. That means that, and this is part of our prayers, more and more people are going to leave the big cities. Guess where some of them are going to try to come? Cleveland, Tennessee, which is great. But that's, going to lead to other wonderful issues and challenges. So please continue to pray. This is a very strange ministry from the point of view that it's completely growing by virtue of people moving here, which I think is wonderful, but different and strange. We've got people coming almost every week this month, I'm pretty sure. Okay. And I know some that are coming next week and the week after. And so, so there's just a lot of movement happening and a lot of growth happening, so keep that all in prayer. I know I normally would put this during the announcements. We'll talk about it again during the announcements, but please keep the picnic and mikveh in prayer, because in the context of dealing with the COVID-19 thing, Hamilton County, as of Friday this week, will be requiring masks on everybody in their county. Okay? They're still planning to have the park open. We were not able to get a straight answer yet from the, We'll have an answer Friday? Okay. We're going to have an answer hopefully Friday as to what the Sheriff's Department's planning to do and how they're going to enforce, or what they're going to do to enforce that whole thing. Because the way it came down in Hamilton County is that they're saying that fines are possible, okay, if you're caught without it. It's challenging because even when you go into restaurants, they want you to wear the mask, but you can't eat with it on. So I don't know, the whole thing is just very strange, okay? It's incredibly strange. Somebody was telling me how they were talking to somebody at a store who they couldn't hear through the plexiglass, so the person put their head around the plexiglass to tell them what they needed to do. Well, what was the point? Okay? What was the point? All right? Anyway, so we need to just keep this whole thing in prayer. Keep me in prayer in terms of getting the wisdom as things develop to know what to do as far as guidance to the body, or at least our little piece of it. When people call me asking, well, what should we do? If it's not a Torah issue, for generally speaking, we're going to comply, because we need to show Abba our willingness to submit to authority. So if you live in Hamilton County, you're going to need to wear a mask when you're in Hamilton County. All right? Bradley County is not doing this at this point, which is where we are here in Cleveland. All right? The mikvah is in Hamilton County. Now, generally, when we've had people come, we've got over 120 people registered. They said we shouldn't have a problem having up to 160. 160 cars, which is a lot more people. Okay, so that's actually 400 or 500 people. You figure 3 or 4 people a car. All right? But we shouldn't have a problem having the 100 and whatever people we're going to have. And generally, we get a place secured that's big enough that people are not actually on top of each other. Okay, they generally spread out. Every year we've done this. 4 or 5 people under. If there's a little tent they can sit under, or they just have their chairs in the shade, and they tend to be social distanced, quote unquote, anyway. Except for people that are family members might have sat a little closer. I don't think if they drive by and see what we're doing over there, they will give us any problems. All right, I can't picture that happening. All right, especially if you're feeding yourselves and bringing food for yourselves, and we're not doing it sort of buffet style and feeding everybody. That they may not be all that excited about. And I don't think they'll have a problem with us providing drinks in a big giant garbage can that are sealed and all that kind of stuff, okay? So we should be okay. But keep in mind, we are calling everywhere looking for alternative places that might be in another county, like Bradley County, or Polk County, just so we could see if there's any place that would be less problematic. All right, so please keep that all in prayer. because that is coming up this weekend, and a lot of people are coming, and they're coming at a time when there's a lot of talk of strengthening the lockdowns or reinstituting levels of lockdown, okay? Also keep in prayer for the economy, because I'll tell you what, I've been out there. Those of you that know me know that somehow, some way, I always end up at a restaurant. It's not an easy life to have to be, if you're on the road a lot and you're visiting people and doing other things, to have to run home then to eat, right? So I end up in restaurants a lot, and there's nobody in them, okay? They can't stay in business like that. I mean, I went to the Chinese place I like to go to last night, and there was 3 tables. And that's a big restaurant that has like 100 tables, okay? This is a big place. And I said to the manager, I said, he says, I don't know how long we can stay open. I said, we'll stay open as long as we can. And so this is getting tough, because it's not just the rules, it's just people are now afraid to go. And people aren't going out. Oh, they're saving money because they're not making as much. And that $600 a week, government unemployment stuff is not going to go forever. Has that ended yet, George? It has not, okay. Okay, till the end of July. So we're only a couple of weeks away from that. It's one of the reasons why I like that we added George onto the staff, because I can have him always monitoring what is the government doing, what are the rules, what are happening, and so I can just always, check on that. But think about what's going to happen when everybody, who got a big increase in pay, who are working in minimum wage jobs, not minimal, the job, but I mean the wages were low, and they were getting paid a whole lot more to be unemployed, and now they're going to have to go back and figure out what to do, and there is no jobs. So now what? And that's coming up here in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Oh, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. So keep that all in prayer, that everybody handles this thing as well as they can. All right, so let's go ahead and have somebody open us in prayer and also pray for the study. Okay, hands up. All right, Charles, why don't we have you do that? Come over and grab the mic. You can just take it, just take it out of the handle and just step up so Marty can get you on the camera. All right, if you'll all rise, we'll go ahead and open in prayer.
Father Abba, we just thank you for this night, and we just ask that you be with us as we're here, and we just ask that you answer all these prayer requests that were spoken, Abba, and we just ask you right now that you will just tend to the needs. Father, you know the needs, but we ask that you tend to them, Father. And we pray that you will show us what we need to see through the Torah study tonight as we read and we ponder on the things of your Torah. And I just thank you, Abba, for the rain that you're pouring down on us. And let us get home safely tonight from this place. And just we praise your name. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, you may be seated. All right, so we're doing the Torah portion readings. We have 11. So we got 6 chairs up here. We're going to have to fill them up twice or almost twice. All right, this week's Torah portion is Pinchas, which means Pinchas. It's the guy's name. Okay, Phineas, Pinchas. All right, so from Numbers chapter 25 and verse 10, and we go to the end of chapter 29. Okay? We're going to start in the middle of chapter 25, and we'll go to chapter 29, all through 29. Again, a reminder that you may want to take notes, mark down some verses that you have a question about or make a comment about. What we're looking for in the verses, I'll tell you this preemptively, I always say this during the discussion part, is you're looking for anything where you can either see yourself or see something that's going on in your life in the Torah portion, so that you can take that information to use it transformationally to grow more and more like Yeshua. Okay? So we're going to look for those things in the Torah portion and glean from that. Paul tells us these things are written for our examples, and that one of the examples is so we can see how people walk this out well and how people walk this out not so well. And we can learn from those examples. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to call up the readers one at a time. I'll tell you what verses you're going to read. I'll have a quick blessing over each of you when you read, before you read, and then You'll do your readings, and then we'll have you sit down and bring the next person. We'll go through 11 of those, and then we'll have a brief announcements time, which will just take a few minutes. We'll announce some of the things that are coming up. I like to do that in the middle when we have the most people probably online, so they'll get to hear all of that. How many we got on there now? 200, well, almost 300. That's pretty, 248. Nice. Okay, so, and by the way, if you're online, we would like to ask you to hit the subscribe button. We're at 24,000 and change, working our way towards 25,000. That would be a nice milestone to hit here in the next month or so. In terms of the reason we're excited about that, has nothing to do with us personally. It has to do with the effectiveness of getting the word out. Okay? The larger the subscriber numbers, the more it will tend to pop up on people's sidebars and be shared as a recommendation by YouTube. All right, so we're in Numbers chapter 25. We're going to begin with Rabbi Tom. You want to come up? Who? That's okay. You can go first. Come on up. Unless you want to be the one naming all of the names here we got here, but that's not too bad. There's nothing but names for like chapter after chapter in the beginning. They're all going to get stuck with it. Anyway, let's see. We want you to go, okay. All right, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Rabbi Thomas, come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Rabbi Tom's going to start us off in chapter 25, verse 10, and then read us to the end of the chapter.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aharon the priest, has turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was ardent with my ardor in their midst, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my ardor. Therefore say, see, I am giving him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and to his seed after him a covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was ardent for his Elohim, and made atonement for the children of Israel. And the name of the man of Israel who was struck with a Midianite woman was Zimri, son of Salu, a leader of the father's house among the Shimonites. And the name of the Midianite woman who was struck was Cosbi, the daughter of Tsur, who was the head of the people of a father's house in Midian. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, distress the Midianites, and you shall strike them, for they distressed you with their tricks, with which they deceived you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a leader of Midian, their sister, who was struck in the day of the plague because of Peor.
All right, thank you, Rabbi Tom. Okay, George, come on up. All right, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless George, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us now to chapter 26 and read verses 1 through 18.
And it came to be after the plague that Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saying, take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel from 20 years old and above, by their fathers' houses, everyone going out to the army in Israel. So Moshe and Eleazar the priest spoke to them in the desert plains of Moab by the Jordan of Jericho, saying, take a census of the people from 20 years old and above, as Yahweh commanded Moshe, and the children of Israel who came out of the land of Mitzrayim. Reuben, firstborn of Israel, sons of Reuben, of Hanok, the clan of the Hanakites, of Palu, the clan of the Paluites, of Hetzron, the clan of the Hetzronites, of Carmi, the clan of the Carmites. These are the clans of the Reubenites, and their registered ones were 43,730. And the son of Palu, Eliab, and the son of Eliab, Nemuel, and Dathan, and Abiram. This is Dathan and Abiram were the called ones of the congregation who contended against Moshe and against Aharon in the company of Korah when they contended against Yahweh. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korah when that company died, when the fire consumed 250 men, and they became a sign. But the sons of Korah did not die. Sons of Shimon, according to their clans, of Nemuel, the clan of the Nemuelites, of Yamin, the clan of the Yamanites, of Yakin, the clan of the Yakinites, of Zerah, the clan of the Zerites, of Shaul, the clan of the Shaulites. These are the clans of the Shimonites, 22,200. Sons of Gad, according to their clans, of Zephon, the clan of the Zephonites, of Haggai, the clan of the Haggites, of Shunai, the clan of the Shunites, of Ozni, the clan of the Oznites, of Eri, the clan of the Erites, of Arad, the clan of the Aradites, of Areli, the clan of the Arelites. These are the clans of Gad, the clans of the sons of Gad, according to the registered ones, 40,500.
Easy for you to say. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Charles, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Charles, take us now from verse 19 to 41.
The sons of Yehuda, Er and Onan, and Er and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Yehuda, according to their clans, of Shelah, the clan of the Shalonites, and the Peretz, the clan of the Perizzites, of the Zahara, the clan of the Zaharites, and the sons of the Peretz, of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites, of Hamuel, the clan of the Hamuelites. These are the clans of Yehuda, according to their registered ones, 76,500. Sons of Issachar, according to their clans, of Tola, the clan of the Tolanites, of Puah, the clan of the Punites, of Yashab, clan of the Yashabites, of Sherman, the clan of the Shemarites. These are the clans of Issachar, according to the registered ones, 64,300. Sons of Zebulun, according to their clans, of Sered, the clan of the Seredites, of Elon, the clan of the Elonites, of Yahaleel, the clan of the Yahaleelites. These are the clans of the Zebulunites, according to their registered ones, 60,500. Sons of Yoshev, according to their clans, by Manasseh and Ephraim. Sons of the Manasseh, of Mechar, the clan of the Mecharites. And Mechar brought forth Gilad of Gilad, and the clan of the Galadites. These are the sons of Gilad, of Eizer, the clan of the Eizerites, of Helqua, the clan of the Helquites, of Ezrael, the clan of the Ezraelites, of Shechem, the clan of the Shechemites, of Shemitah, the clan of the Shemitites, of Hefer, the clan of the Heferites, and Tilsphad, son of the Hefer, had no sons but daughters. And the names of the daughters of Telsphad, Mahalah, and Noah, Hagalah, Milcah, and Tisra. These are the clans of Manasseh, and the registered ones, 52,700. What was the verse? 41, okay. These are the sons of Ephraim according to their clans, of Sheluthah, the clan of the Sheluthites, and Becher, the clan of the Becherites, of Tahan, the clan of the Tahanarites. And these are the sons of Sheluthah, of the Aaron, and the clans of the Aaronites. These are the clans of the sons of Ephraim according to the registered ones, 32,500. These are the sons of Joseph according to their clans. Sons of Benjamin according to their clans, of Bela, the clans of the Balaamites, of Ashbel, clan of the Ashbelites, Araim, clan of the Amorites, of Shepulam, clan of the Shepulamites, of Hupham, clan of the Huphamites. Sons of Bela were Ard and Namerman of Ard, the clan of the Ardites, and Naaman, the clan of the Naamanites. These are the sons of Benjamin according to their clans, and to the registered ones, 45,600.
Excellent job. Those are tough. Those are tough. How come nobody was like named Bob, you know? Tom or something simple, you know? Smith or Jones. It's just, you know, these tough names. Okay. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Billy who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Billy's now going to take us from verse 42 to 51.
These are the sons of Dan according to their clans. Of Shuham, the clan of the Shuhamites. These are the clans of Dan according to their clans. All the clans of the Shuhamites according to their registered ones, 64,400. Sons of Asher according to their clans, of Yimnah, the clan of the Yimnahites. Of Yishwi, the clan of the Yishwiites. Of Bera, the clan of the Beraites. Of the sons of Bera, of Heber, the clan of the Heberites. Of Malkiel, the clan of the Malkalites. And the name of the daughter of Asher was Sarah. These are the clans of the sons of Asher according to the registered ones, 53,400. Sons of the Naphtali according to their clans, of Yatshiel, the clan of the Yashalites. Of Guni, the clan of the Gunites. Of Yetzer, the clan of the Yetzerites. Of Shalem, the clan of the Shemalites. These are the clans of the Naphtali according to their clans, and their registered ones, 45,400. These are the registered ones of the children of Yisrael, 601,730.
Amen. Amen. Okay, Gabe. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Gabe who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us now from verse 52 to the end of the chapter. So that's right up
there. Wait, say again? Sorry.
Yeah. Right, starting here.
Okay. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, the land is to be divided to these as an inheritance according to the number of names. To the large one you give a larger inheritance, and to the small one you give a smaller inheritance. Each shall be given given its inheritance according to their registered ones. But the land is divided by lot. They inherit according to the names of the tribes of their fathers. According to the lot, the inheritance is divided between the larger and the smaller. And these are the registered ones of the Levites according to their clans. Of Gershon, the clan of the Gershonites. Of Quahath, the clan of the Quahites. Of Miriam, the clan of the Merites. These are the clans of the Lewites, the clan of the Libanites, the clan of the Hebronites, the clan of the Mahalites, the clan of the Mushites, and the clan of the Quaharites. And Kehath brought forth Amar. And the name of Amar's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Leu, who was born to Leu and Mitzrayim, and to Amram she bore Aaron and Moshe and their sister Miriam. And to Aaron were born Nadab and Abu, Eleazar and Ithamar. And Nadab and Abu died when they brought strange fire before Yahweh. And the registered ones were 23,000, every male from a new moon old and above. For they were not registered among the other children of Israel, because there was no inheritance given to them among the children of Israel. These are the ones registered by Moshe and Eleazar the priest, who's registered the sons of Israel in the desert plains of Moab by the Jordan of Jericho. But among these there was not a man of those registered by Moshe and Aaron the priest when they registered the sons of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. For Yahweh had said of them, they shall certainly die in the wilderness, and not a man was left of them, except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Yehusha, son of Nun.
Amen. Amen. Good job, Gabe. All right, Catherine. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Catherine, who's come to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us now to chapter 27 and read verses 1 through 11.
Should we pick? Yeah.
I can't help it if you're vertically challenged.
Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, son of Hepher, son of Gilad, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, from the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. And these were the names of his daughters, Mahlah, Noah, and Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moshe and before Eleazar the priest, and before the leaders and all the congregation by the doorway of the tent of appointment, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, yet he was not in the company of those who were met together against Yahweh in company with Korach, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be removed from among his clan, because he had no son? Give us a possession among the brothers of our father. Moshe then brought their case before Yahweh, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak what is right. You should certainly give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. And speak to the children of Israel, saying, When a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter. And if he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the nearest relative in his clan, and he shall possess it. And it shall be to the children of Israel a law of right ruling, as Yahweh commanded Moshe.
Amen. Amen. It's amazing how fast those verses can go when you don't have to pronounce names. All right. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Steve, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Steve's going to take us now from verse 12 of chapter 27 to the end of the chapter.
All And Yahweh said to Moshe, Go up into the Mount Abram and see the land which I've given to the children of Israel. And when you see it, when you have seen it, you shall also be gathered to your people as Aaron, your brother, was gathered, because you rebelled against my mouth in the wilderness of Sinai, in the strife of the congregation, to set me apart at the waters before their eyes. This were the waters of Meribah at Kadesh in the wilderness of Sinai. And Moshe spoke to Yahweh, saying, Let Yahweh, the Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, appoint man over the congregation, who goes out before him and comes in before him, who leads them out and brings them in, so that the congregation of Yahweh to be not like sheep without a shepherd. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Take, Yehoshua, son of Nun, with you, a man whom is the Spirit, and you shall lay your hand on him, and you shall set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a command before their eyes, and you shall put your esteem upon him, and so that all the congregation of the children of Israel obey him. And he is to stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before Yahweh for him by the right ruling of Urim. At his word they go out, and at the word they come in, both in all the children of Israel with him, all the congregation. And Moshe did as Yahweh commanded him, and took Yehoshua, and set him before Eleazar the priest, before all the congregation, and laid hands on him, and commissioned him as Yahweh commanded him by the hand of Moshe.
Amen. Oh, Steve's got an idea of something he needs to write. Okay. Lynn. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Lynn, who's come up down to Yahweh and the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, Lynn's going to take us now to chapter 28 and read verses 1 through 15.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Command the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, Take heed to bring my offering, my food for my offerings, made by fire as a sweet fragrance to me at their appointed time. And you shall say to them, This is the offering made by fire, which you bring to Yahweh, 2 male lambs a year old, perfect ones, daily, a continual ascending offering. The one lamb you prepare in the morning, and the other lamb you prepare between the evenings, with 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a grain offering, mixed with 1/4 of a hin of pressed oil, a continual ascending offering, which was offered at Mount Sinai for a sweet fragrance, an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And its drink offering, 1/4 of a hin for each lamb. Pour out the drink to Yahweh as an offering in the set-apart place. And the other lamb you prepare between the evenings, as the morning grain offering and its drink offering. You prepare it as an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. And on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a grain offering mixed with oil with its drink offering. The ascending offering for every Sabbath, besides the continual ascending offering with its drink offering. And on the beginnings of your new moons, you bring near an ascending offering to Yahweh, 2 young bulls and 1 ram, and 7 lambs a year old, perfect ones. 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour as grain offering, mixed with oil for each bull. 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour as grain offering, mixed with oil for the 1 ram, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering for each lamb, as an ascending offering of sweet fragrance, and offering made by fire to Yahweh. And their drink offering is half a hin of wine for a bull, and 1/3 of a hin for a ram, and 1/4 of a hin for a lamb. This is the ascending offering for each new moon throughout the new moons of the year. And 1 male goat as a sin offering to Yahweh is prepared, besides the continual ascending offering and its drink offering.
All right, now, I got 4 of you, and I've got 3 parts, but I've got one that's like 22 verses. I could split that, and then that'll give 11 verses each. Okay? When I let all 4 of you, I'll just split one. Okay? The split one will be the second and third ones. Okay, so you guys will just get in, so that way we'll split this. Okay? That'll work? All right, Shannon. So I'm going to have Shannon go, and then we'll split the next one. Okay, that'll work. All right, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Shannon, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us now from verse 16 to the end of chapter 28.
And in the first new moon, on the 14th day is the Pesach of Yahweh, and on the 15th day of this new moon is a festival. For 7 days unleavened bread is eaten. On the first day is a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. And ye shall bring near an offering made by fire as an ascending offering to Yahweh, 2 young bulls and 1 ram, and 7 lambs a year old, perfect ones, they are for you. And their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil. Prepare 3/10 of an ephah for a bull, and 2/10 for a ram. Prepare 1/10 of an ephah for each of the 7 lambs, and 1 goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. Prepare these besides the ascending offering of the morning, which is for a continual ascending offering. According to these you are to prepare the food of the offering made by fire daily for 7 days as a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. It is prepared besides the continual ascending offering, and besides the continual ascending offering and its drink offering. And on the 7th day you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. And on the day of the first fruits, when you bring a new grain offering to Yahweh at your festival of Shavuot, you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. And you shall bring near an ascending offering as a sweet fragrance to Yahweh, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 lambs a year old, with their grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for each bull, 2/10 for the 1 ram, 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, 1 male goat to make atonement for you. Perfect ones they are for you. Prepare them with their drink offerings, besides the continual ascending offering with its grain offering.
All right, amen. Okay, so for Harold, who's got the things, we're going to split this one to be from verses 1 to 11. And the next one will be chapter 29, 12 to 22, okay? All right, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Julie, who's come, Rebbetzin and Julie, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us now to chapter 29 and read verses 1 through 11.
And in the 7th new moon, on the first day of the new moon, you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. It is Yom Teruah for you. And you shall prepare a burnt offering as a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs, a year old, perfect ones. And their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bull, 2/10 for the ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. Besides the burnt offering with its grain offering for the new moon, the continual burnt offering with its grain offering and their drink offerings, according to their right ruling as a sweet fragrance, an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And on the 10th day of the 7th new moon, you have a set-apart gathering, and you shall afflict your beings. You do no work, and you shall bring near a burnt offering to Yahweh, a sweet fragrance, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs a year old, perfect ones, they are for you. And their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bull, 2/10 for the 1 ram, 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, 1 male goat as a sin offering, besides the sin offering for atonement, the continual burnt offering with its grain offering, and their drink offerings.
He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Caleb, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Are you going to take us now from verse 12 to 22?
And on the 15th day of the 7th new moon, you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work, and you shall celebrate a festival to Yahweh 7 days. And you shall bring near an ascending offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahweh, 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year old, perfect ones they are. And their grain offerings, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 of each of the 14 lambs, and 1 male goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Then on the 2nd day, 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, by their number according to the right ruling. And 1 male goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, with its grain offering and their drink offerings. And on the 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and their grain offerings and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number, according to the right ruling. And 1 goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering.
All right. I got to move it down to like normal height first. Okay. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, I got to set it to short, okay? He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Connor, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. You're going to get a little bit larger portion here. You're going to take us now from verse 23 to the end of the chapter.
Then on the 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number, according to the right ruling. And 1 male goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Then on the 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number, according to the right ruling. And 1 goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Then on the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, by their number, according to the right ruling. And 1 goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. Then on the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, by their number, according to the right ruling. And 1 goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, and its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 8th day you have an assembly, you do no servile work. And you shall bring near an ascending offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs a year old, perfect ones. their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bull, for the ram, and for the lambs, by their number, according to the right ruling. And 1 goat as a sin offering, besides the continual ascending offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. These you prepare to Yahweh at your appointed times, beside your vowed offerings and your voluntary offerings, as your ascending offerings and your grain offerings, as your drink offerings and your peace offerings. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel according to all Yahweh had commanded Moshe.
Amen. Thank you all, you readers. Excellent job. And the crowd went wild. I think some of you are already falling asleep. It's not even barely 9:15 here. Okay. I'm just about to wake up in about another 45 minutes. All right, the traditional blessing after the Torah reading. I think Yahweh wants to do it himself. The thunder is rolling. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'charyei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Amen. Okay. I'm not going to be able to get this thing the right height here today, I think. Okay, so let me go through some announcements real quickly, and then we'll go through the Torah portion discussion. If you're online, I'd like you to pay attention to the announcements, but you can already start if you'd like to type in some comments or questions to Manny so he can get a little bit of a head start. But please still pay attention to the announcements. Okay, so I want to start off by welcoming our guests. I know we do have some guests online today. How many we got on there now? 268, so I'm sure some of those are guests. We should make them feel welcome. As children of Avraham, we should be exemplifying hospitality and helping them to feel welcome. Okay. Every Tuesday night, we do the Torah study. So you're here tonight, and this is your first time. We do this every week, so you're welcome to come and join us every week when we do this at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We also have a program for the youth called Parsha Pearls. You can find that on its own website, ymtoi.org, Young Messianic Torah Observant Israelites, ymtoi.org. And the Parsha Pearl program is designed for children 5 and up, really mostly 5 to, say, 18 or 20, but really we've had some adults look at it recently going, wow, this is some good stuff. I can learn a lot. So all of you could benefit and there's a lot of fun stuff in there as well. So the Parsha Pearls program is the weekly Torah portion designed to be at a level that the children can engage with, okay? It's a description. In other words, there's a part of the Torah portion that's described for them so they can understand what's going on in the Torah portion, at least one aspect of it, because sometimes there's 3 or 4 major themes going on. And then there's some questions to fill in the blanks so they can see how much they were paying attention. There's coloring pages related to the story that they read. There are word searches and mazes and crossword puzzles and all kinds of great stuff, all right? There's a snack, there's a craft, there's a notebook page, there are flashcards with Hebrew words from the Torah portion. It's just an incredibly robust program. So what you can do is you can go to the MTOI, ymtoi.org website, download the portion, it's a PDF, and enjoy that all week long. We do post them in advance for the next Shabbat. So this week's Torah portion was posted on Sunday. We're doing it today on Tuesday, but it's for the following Shabbat. So if you want to use this, if you have a congregation, you can use this for your Sabbath school, for your Shabbat school, with the children's program, you can do that as well. Okay, and then we have audio scripture readings. Shira, one of the ladies here in the congregation, has done a fabulous job, Shira Wendling, of recording all of the Torah portions and as well now a whole bunch of the Psalms. And so you can listen to those if you'd like to hear the scripture read. She uses the ISR version, the same version that we use today to read for the Torah portion. Okay? And those readings can be found on the MTOI.org website under media, under audio scripture readings. Okay, on the calendar coming up, okay, we have Shabbats. You put that one first, just to remind everybody real quickly. Well, we have the Erev Shabbat. We do have Shabbats every week. Okay, every week we do Shabbat. And so we do that live on just like we're doing now. For those that are new that are watching, I want them to understand that, okay? Now, this Friday night before Shabbat, we're going to have an Erev Shabbat meal for the Mishpacha here. We're going to have a fellowship meal. And all those that are coming to be here for the mikvah, okay? This will qualify under the lockdown as a religious observance because we're going to do an Erev Shabbat service, okay? Otherwise, we'd be having a social event that they'd be upset about. But we actually are going to have a fellowship meal with Erev Shabbat service, easy for me to say. Then on Sunday the 12th, we have our picnic and mikvah. And again, we should be doing it at Chester Frost Park. Okay, and I should be putting out directions for that on Shabbat. Okay, but we're still waiting to make sure that there are no changes to that. It's in Hickson, which is about from here, probably about 45 minutes. Okay. It's not far once you go over into Hickson, off of Hickson Pike, and you'll find it. It's not that far to get to. It's called Chester Frost Park, and it's a county park, and it is probably going to be relatively, actually, I guess with the COVID-19, maybe won't be anybody there, but usually it's pretty well attended by other people when we go there. It will be hot, okay? We've already been experiencing 90s most of these days. It was hot yesterday, it's hot today. So it'll likely be, and it'll be like today, threatening thunderstorms and humid. That's kind of what we've had every year. It seems like Yahweh works it out, though, so the storms don't come until we're pretty much done at 4 or 5 o'clock, okay? So that's going to be on the 12th. We will be providing drinks and water as far as juices, sodas, bottled stuff that we will have in a big garbage cans with ice and that kind of thing, all right? Now, for those that are attending with children, okay, your children are not to grab any of those without you. They don't need to be grabbing 15 of them while they're there. It's going to be hot. Okay, so if you know that you're going to need a lot of this beyond what would be normally fair and reasonable, you may want to bring extras for your children. Okay, you're not going to be limited to one, but we also don't need the children grabbing 15 of them either. Okay, because that would be, and that can happen because the children walk by, grab one, put it down, lose it, go grab another one. And none of you know what I'm talking about, right? Because your children never. I know. Children do that, right? I mean, they do that here in Oneg when we used to have the drinks on the table there. They'd get a cup, have a sip, put it down, forget what they did, go get another one. All right. Let's see. On the 19th, okay, a week from Sunday, we have our leadership meeting, South Africa in the morning, and then the full leadership at noon. Okay, emails will go out reminding everybody about that. Okay, then on Tuesday the 21st, we're going to have our Rosh Chodesh for the month of Av and our Torah study and another meal. We're going to get together again. Yay. See, we understand why they were complaining about just having manna. The Israelites like to eat. We're hungry. We're hungry. All right, so on Tuesday the 21st, so the way that's going to work for those of you on live stream is that we're going to stream the Torah study as normal at 8 o'clock. For those of you here, we're going to start eating around 6:30. So we're going to be here for 6 o'clock. Hopefully we start eating around 6:30. And then we're going to start Torah study at 8 o'clock. Around 9 o'clock, when we kind of like now with the announcements, now it's 9:30 almost, but we're going to try to go before the announcements start and start the Rosh Chodesh service. So whenever we finish reading, whatever time that is, it'll be 9 or 9:20 or whatever it'll be, we'll do our Rosh Chodesh service. So if you want to be on the live stream to see the Rosh Chodesh service, we'll do that during the announcements time, okay, around 9 o'clock or so. All right? And then we'll continue with our announcements and with the midrashic part or the discussion part of the study. Okay, so dinner at 6, Torah study 8, Rosh Chodesh around 9. Okay, and that should cover it for the announcements. We are still actively looking to secure possible alternative feast sites for Sukkot. Not that we need to yet, but it seems like North Carolina is having a real hard time coming out of lockdown. Okay? I don't know why. They don't have worse than a lot of states that have. I mean, a lot of states are a lot worse, but for some reason, that state has chosen to really stay hard on lockdown. So they're still having gatherings of no more than 10. Okay? Now, churches and religious organizations can meet with more than that, but this is a property that people use for all kinds of events, and so they're considered a social event place. All right, so they're not going to allow us to just be there on the property. And they're not going to have the cafeteria open. They're not going to have anything available for those kind of things. As of now, We're hoping by October that'll be different. I'm finding it less and less likely, okay? As my somewhat pessimistic assistant George likes to point out. Okay? Because he does not think there's any chance this is going to work out. So, and I'm not disagreeing with him. I just am optimistic to the last second. Okay? Anyway, but he's probably right, because at the moment, we're going to find out more on the 17th. So in about 10 days, when North Carolina makes its next announcement, if it's going to go into the next phase or not, okay, of lockdown. All right, or of opening up, whichever way you want to look at it. And I think that's going to cover it for the announcements. Yes?
Rob did message me and he wanted me to just add that, to remind people that alcohol is prohibited.
Good point. We really should mention that. Okay, if that's on automatic, that's why the fan won't shut. You got to set it to auto so that when you get the temperature. Sorry, they're having a challenge with you guys are freezing, right? What do I know? I don't get freezing, but. Did you guys figure that out, or you need my help over there? Okay. All right. Okay, this is important for those of you that are coming and those of you that are here that know people that are coming. They have an absolutely strictly enforced no alcohol policy on this park's property. If they catch you with it, they will take it and boot you out. Both. Okay, they will take it and escort you out of the park. We've seen them do that. Not to people in our group, but we've seen them do that to other people while we were there. Okay, almost like every time. Okay, so the people there, the sheriff's department people there, the parks rangers, the rangers that are there will be driving around and looking around and whatever they're doing. And if they see alcohol, they will confiscate it and throw you out. And you might be happy if that's the only thing they do. Because it's they have very big signs everywhere, and a lot of people think, yeah, if I don't, they won't see me, they'll see you. They're looking for it specifically. Okay, don't push that envelope. You've been warned. If you get in trouble, don't cry to me. Okay? I've told you this is something that they enforce and have enforced in the past very strictly. All right? Some of you are thinking, well, I did it last year, nobody caught me. Well, just because you got away with it once, I wouldn't push that envelope, okay? All right. If I see anybody doing it, I will shut that down so that you don't embarrass us and get anybody in trouble. And so will the rest of the shamashim and staff members that are there. If they see that they have instruction, that they'll make sure to shut that down. All right, which means it'll get locked up back in your car or whatever it is that needs to be done so that it's not visibly out where anybody can see it or access it. We may make you cry and just pour it out in front of you, make you watch as we dump it. All right. You're Israelites. You're stubborn and you don't listen. That's why I got to say these things. We've told people every Sukkot not to do it and every Passover. They do it anyway. They end up walking around drunk, and they look at me like I'm some harsh Baptist or something, Look, it's the rules of the properties that we're on, not my rules. Okay? But you guys put it in your coffee cup and think you're being slick. But we know the coffee doesn't make you act the way you act when you're drinking that particular brand of coffee. And last I checked, Jack Daniels doesn't make a coffee. Okay, they may make a coffee flavored something, but no. Okay? Anyway, there are no coffee beers. Okay? Now, I'm just saying because you guys want to try to be slick. Listen, you're not fooling anybody. You're certainly not fooling your Heavenly Father who knows you're trying to get away with something. And do you think He wants to give you forever when you have a habit of trying to get away with something? Think about it. How do you feel about your children when they try to be slick and get away with stuff? And you look at them like, well, how can I trust you? And the next time they ask you for something, you say, well, I don't know if I can trust you because the last time I trusted you, you tried to get away with something. So how do you think Abba feels when he watches you try to get away with something? Just think of that the next time you're trying to be smart and think you're all clever. You might fool one of us. You're not going to fool him. Just keep that in mind. All right. You ready, Manny? You getting some stuff on there?
One last thing, somebody was asking me if you could address, for those going in the water, how to dress appropriately.
Wear clothing. We don't want you going in naked. Okay, look, like any other public swimming or anything else that you might want to do, or even public just normal wearing clothes. I mean, you should wear clothes that when you're wearing them, and in this case when they get wet, are not going to be an eye distraction, especially for the males. So just wear something that's appropriately modest. I was looking for the word. I couldn't remember. Okay, you want something that has modesty in mind. Okay. Now, if you have an appropriate swimsuit that you wear when you would go swimming somewhere, then you can wear your swimsuit. All right. If you would feel better to have a shirt over it, then have a shirt over it. If you feel like you need to have shorts, then have shorts. You know, that's what it's. You know, just modesty. Okay. Okay, not extreme modesty where we want you to wear a burlap sack from your chin to your toes, but modesty. Okay. All right? And you are going out into water that you should be okay barefoot. This is not a problem. We have other places where I've had to warn people that it's very rocky or that kind of a thing, and you want to wear footwear. This is a place people go to swim on a regular basis. You shouldn't have any problem going in with whatever you do or don't have on your feet, okay? So that's not going to be a problem. There's a staircase to walk in. It's very easy to get in and out at this particular property. The water gets deeper very, very, very slowly. Okay, I mean, you can walk out a long way and still be about up to your waist, all right? It doesn't get deep very quick. And so you don't have to worry about, precipitous drop-offs happening necessarily. I mean, you can get out there and walk out and it shouldn't be no problem. All right. Any other things about the mikveh? If you're going in the water, you don't need my permission. This has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with MTOI. You're not immersing into a group or an organization. You are doing a covenantal thing. So I guess from that point of view, you are immersing into something, but it's the kingdom. It's Yahweh. It's not an earthly thing. Okay, this is between you and your Creator and has nothing to do with us except we are going to be there to preside over and to witness. All we're going to do is basically help you walk through the ceremony and witness what you're doing. So there are 8 declarations that we're going to have you make. The 8 declarations are available on our website. And so go to the Holy Days page or the drop-down menu. One of the choices is mikveh declarations. It's a PDF. You can print it out. I'll have copies with us at the mikveh, so you'll have that available to you when you get there. There is, if we're doing this at Chester Frost Park, there is a brick and mortar building bathroom that you can change in. Okay, there's a ladies' room and a men's room. It's fairly large because they expect that this is a fairly big public place, but there is a nice brick and mortar bathroom with showers or whatever, so you can go in and change. All right? So you don't have to worry about a changing area. You'll have that there. Okay. I think that covers it. Anything? Okay. All right, so this week's Torah portion, Pinchas, starts in chapter 25, verse 10, and goes through 29. Now, as we go into the discussion part, let's try to go chronologically. Okay, let's start in chapter 25 and work our way to the end. Also, let's try to look for primarily not the interesting, not the things you've always wondered about, but let's mostly look for what can you learn, and not necessarily out of all the details of all of the offerings, but what can you learn out of this Torah portion? What was going on in the Torah portion that you can learn? Even the offerings teach you that Yahweh really cares about every detail. I mean, he didn't just say, look, bring me some cows or some rams or some lambs or some bulls. No, he said, and I want with that this much grain and this much wine and this. I mean, he told them exactly the recipe. How many, how to do it, etc. Now, if you read the book of Leviticus, you saw all the details on what those offerings looked like and how they had to deal with the more of the actual details of how the offerings were done, which parts went where and how that all went and who got what, etc. Okay? So at this point, he's expecting you know that from the previous instruction. And so let's try and do that as we go through this. I do want to, as we start chapter 25, just for context, I almost was going to have Rabbi Tom start in verse 1. But for context, let's understand that when Pinchas stood up, okay, in verse 11, okay, it says, Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, has turned back my wrath, Yahweh is saying. Well, what happened? Well, in verse 1 it says, in Israel dwelt in Shittim, and the people began to whore with the daughters of Moab. So the people were intermingling with the Moabite women, and they invited the people to the slaughterings of their mighty ones. So they were going to go do sacrifices or be there when sacrifices were done to the pagan deities. The people ate and bowed down to the mighty ones. And so thus Israel joined itself to Baal Peor, and the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel. So this is why you don't go even to witness and in a participation with some pagan stuff. Okay? And now, of course, this gets everybody angry, but what is a lot of the stuff that's happening on Sunday in a church? I'm just saying, think about it. First of all, you've got a lot of crucifixes, and some of them have Messiah on the crucifixes, and they've got all kinds of other things. These are all things that we're told not to do. Okay? So just realize that, so these are the things that we don't participate in. All right? Now, so continuing here, so the people were doing this, and by doing this, they joined themselves to Baal. And this made Yahweh not very happy. The displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel. Yahweh said to Moshe, take all the leaders of the people and hang them up before Yahweh. So now you understand, or should understand, this is where, a little preemptively here, but we talked about it, I think even last week. You want to be in leadership, you better understand how much responsibility you have, because Yahweh's going to hold you responsible for what the people do. All right? Now, by the way, if you're in the staff or if you're a part of the leadership under my authority and I come down on you hard, understand there's a reason. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with me or not, if you're doing something that I don't appreciate representing me, representing him, because remember, it goes down the chain that way. In this case, Moses is going to get held accountable too, but the way it goes down, go grab those leaders, they were messing up. Because everything reflects back up the chain, okay? And so just realize that, you guys want to be leaders. That's not a problem. We need leaders, but it has to be appropriate. And actually, let me go ahead and just make this point here from chapter 27, because it just has to do with leadership, breaking the rule I said about doing it in order. But notice what happens here with Yehoshua. In chapter 27 and in verse 18, okay? Well, first of all, in verse 16, Yahweh says, let Yahweh Elohim of the spirits of all flesh appoint a man over the congregation who goes out before them and comes in before them, who leads them out and brings them in. So Yahweh's going to appoint. And how does he do that? Yahweh says to Moshe, take Yehoshua. So the anointed appointed then transfers that authority, lays hands on him, gives him some of his honor. That's the esteem, gives him some of his honor and authority. So that what? It says in verse 20, so that the children of Israel obey. The children of Israel were expected to obey a human being, but not just any human being, a human being who's anointed and appointed and placed in authority to be in that leadership position. And this is important as we understand this. So that's why the leaders are then given that much responsibility, and that's where the accountability is there. So the leaders are told, so Moses is told to hang up the leaders. Moses said to the judges of Israel, each one of you slay his men who were joined to Baal Peor. And see, one of the children of Israel came and brought to his brothers a Midianite woman before the eyes of Moshe, before everybody. So just imagine him in the camp, just walking there, strutting along. He's got the woman. He's like, I'm going to do what I want. And goes right into his tent with her. This is like the guy gathering sticks. This is like a lot of you who just haughtily say, nobody's going to tell me what to do. So some of you, whenever you get that self-sovereign moment, you're this guy. You may not think you're this guy if you're not like grabbing a woman to go have sex with and everything else, whatever they were doing, because after all, when the spear goes through both of them, picture the position they must have been in to spear both of them at the same time. And so here you go. He's just in their face. You know what? I've got congregation members over the years that do that same thing. They'll do something in my face just to make sure I know they wanted me to know what they're doing. You have no authority over me. See, but that leads scripturally to you being speared through. That may come with a public embarrassing moment where you have to be called out. Because you may do something in public that needs to be addressed in public, because the people need to know that the leadership saw it and has to address it. And I've warned people over and over and over and over, if you don't want something addressed in public, don't do it in public. You want to post something on one of the posts that MTOI posts and try to be a wise guy or smart and think you're going to set everything straight and call me out or whatever, don't be embarrassed then when I give you or somebody posts back a clarity that makes you look bad or points out the rebelliousness and the Jezebel spirit or whatever else that's going on in that whole deal, which could be, by the way, that same sort of rebellious thing could be in a guy too. It's not a gender thing, okay? It's a usurping thing. And so just understand, you don't want something done, because I've been told, well, people are mad at me because I did something in public. I said, well, you did it in public. If you didn't want it done in public, you shouldn't have done it in public. Because you forced me to address it because the people need to see it addressed. Okay? The people needed to see Pinchas march out just as publicly with his spear, go right in there and said, bam, problem solved. That wasn't even his job directly, because there was Aaron, then there was Eleazar. But nobody was doing anything. Now, he was in the line to do it, and he gets a blessing here saying, because you did that. Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, he said, because you did that, I'm going to give you a covenant of peace. Because he stepped up. Now, bear in mind, do not take this as license for any of you to say, well, I was just having a Pinchas moment when somebody was doing something on Facebook or whatever, and I needed to step up. Not unless you are in the line of the leadership expected to do it. Pinchas wasn't just an average nobody or anybody. He was in the line to be high priest. He was being trained for that position. Because remember, Aaron was high priest, Eleazar was high priest, and this is Eleazar's son who would have been high priest. So follow the logic, don't apply things. This is where we get into our Christianized minds, where I read something, I can now choose that it applies to me conveniently whenever I think it applies to me. That's not the way it works. And a lot of you know what I'm talking about, because either you've done it or you've watched other people do it. Selectively apply Scripture to themselves. Well, I was just being Pinchas. No. It was his job to step up when the others did not step up. In other words, when something needs to happen, it starts at the top. They didn't do it, then it goes to the next one. They didn't do it, then it goes to the next one. It keeps going down that same vertical line. So that's a notice to you that if you're in a vertical line, you may need to step up if there's a problem in the chain because you're in that line. So I think that's really important that we get that. So we see that the people were seeking after the pleasures of the world, basically. So let's not just blame the women. The people were desiring the worldly pleasures and going after the worldly things like the worldly gods and the worldly whatever. And so that's where Israel then broke covenant and committed adultery, right? Joined themselves to somebody else. That's a big problem. So let's be aware of that. Okay, that was my preemptive mini-sermon. Okay, just to make sure we got set up just to get to verse 10. All right, so who wants to add something? I know, Steve, you had something that you wanted to write down, so come on up.
All right, well, you covered the one in 27, but I would like to add only one thing, and it's that he didn't take a poll or add people vote on who was selected that he brought up, that it was instructed from above. So, and then I have in the beginning, of course.
Hold on, let me just start with that. All right. It doesn't say, and Yahweh spoke to all the people, this is who Moses needs to pick. Yahweh told only the anointed appointed. Everybody else had to trust that. Think about that very strongly. Well, how do we know? Don't you think the people felt that way? Well, how do we know Yahweh told you this or told you that or led you to do this or led you to do that or whatever it is? Well, either the person's the anointed, appointed, or they're not. And if they are, you got to have to trust it. That's all there is to it. It says, and Yahweh told Moshe. And then Moshe went and did it, right? That's what the difference is. So yes, Steve, you're correct. But just remember that that's the whole point. Yahweh said to Moshe, take Yehoshua. Now, except at Mount Sinai, nobody's hearing the rest of these conversations. Once at Sinai, they said, don't let Yahweh speak to us directly. Nobody's getting to hear these conversations. So he's not speaking to the general populace. The populace is going to have to believe Moses. All right, next.
All right. And then in the beginning of was it 25? Well, over anyway, the beginning of the Torah study, I didn't write down the number. But the word adore, it's
Ardor.
So, ardor? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the definition is like passion. So to me, I thought, what is your passion? When we attach passion to a thought, it can be so strong that we fail to see it taking us down the wrong path.
Yeah, look, the key in that verse, and we're talking about Pinchas in verse 11, he said, Yahweh says that Pinchas was ardent with his, Yahweh's ardor. So ardent is to be passionate, enthusiastic, fervent, zealous, wholehearted, intense, fierce, fiery, that kind of stuff. I have the definition in my notes here. But it's not just any kind of ardor. The question is, does your ardor match his? Because you're going to claim, oh, well, I'm just ardent for Yahweh, and so I'm going to go on Facebook and straighten everybody out because he needs all that defending and everything. Only if it's your job. And don't claim it's your job just because you want it to be your job. Oh, I've had people send me letters, Yahweh set me in place to go contact ministries and straighten out all the pastors and everything. Oh, really? Okay. This is what people do, is they convince themselves that they're, almost like the Blues Brothers. I'm on a mission from God. Okay, some of you remember that. See, I gave you a movie reference. Anyway, but it's self-appointed. Because they don't like what the pastors and teachers are doing, so they've decided that Yahweh's put them in that place. Okay, Rabbi Tom.
Okay, thank you. I have a comment about the beginning here, but when you mentioned in 27:9, or 27:20 rather, that Moshe was to put some of his esteem on Yehoshua so that the children of Israel obey him. Over in Devarim, the last chapter, verse 9, it says, and the children of Israel listened to him, that is Yehoshua, and did as Yahweh had commanded Moshe. So they followed through with that.
Well, up to a point, but yes.
Up to a point, yeah, up to a point. Initially. But my comment about Pinchas was he certainly did a very dramatic deed, but when we think of it, he did it out of love, and I don't think he had one thought about putting himself in danger, but what I was thinking of is surely some of the tribe of Shimon and some of Zimri's relatives may have thought of, we're going to get this guy for that. But he didn't think of that. He didn't think of what might happen. He didn't worry about it. But by doing what he did, he saved a lot of lives. And what I was thinking of is if he could do something like that, and I know we're certainly not called to do anything violent, but why do people sometimes have trouble separating from those who have left this congregation and with evil intents cause trouble? Why are they still associating with them?
Because we are still emotionally driven.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay? Nothing wrong with emotions, but you can't let them drive. In other words, they should not be the force that drives your decisions. And so this is why people still listen to teachers they know they shouldn't listen to anymore. This is the reason why they do all these things they shouldn't do anymore, because they have an emotional attachment. Well, why do you still hang out with those people? Because I like them. They're my friends. They've been my friends. Nobody told you to stop liking them. But you have to understand there are just things that, Yeshua talks about people that have left, mother, sister, brother, etc., because they ask, well, what would they have? He says, well, those who have done these things will receive, tenfold, 100-fold, whatever, 30-fold, etc. But you have to actually be willing to leave them, and there may be a reason to leave them. I've studied quite a bit of personal development stuff. And one of the things that a lot of these personal development teachers will tell you is that you probably need to get rid of a whole lot of people in your life if you ever want to move forward. Because there are people in your life keeping you where you are and not letting you get where you want to go. Because people don't want the people they're with to elevate above where we are. You want everybody to stay where I am. Don't go anywhere. Don't move up. If you move up, I have to move up, and I'm not ready to do that. And so they'll be pulling on you as you're trying to climb that ladder. They'll be pulling at your feet, trying to pull you off the ladder. And so they say, look, you're going to have to purge some people out of your life. Because those associations, look, there's a saying, and it's true. You are, for better or worse, a mix or some sort of aggregate of all the people you associate with. That's what has influenced you to be who you are. You want to be different? Hang out with different people. Okay? If you're, on whatever level you think you are on the growth scale, then hang out with people that are higher than you on the growth scale, and they will bring you up. But it's going to have to do with the majority. If the one person that's higher up is hanging out with the ones that are lower down, unless you're Yeshua going to the publicans, it's not going to work very well. Like the people telling me, well, I still go to church because I'm witnessing to them. Well, you're doing a lousy job of it. And the reason I say that is if you were doing a good job of it, they'd have thrown you out. So you're doing a very secretive job of it, apparently, or you're just lying. Because I've almost never heard a story of someone who stayed in Sunday church bringing people over from their staying there. Because if I'm in that church, I'm going to look at you saying, well, if you believe this so much, what are you doing here? Well, but all my friends are here, and this is where I grew up, and I know everybody, and there's no other congregation to go to except online with that group in Tennessee, and their service runs 4 hours. I like this one here. It's 45 minutes. Then I go do whatever I want. This is an emotional problem. Why did they do what they did at Baal Peor? Emotional problem. They were enticed by their emotions, by the ladies, metaphor for anything, even though it was literal too, but I'm saying metaphor for anything, that would draw you away. Loneliness could draw you away. I don't like that I have to just be on a computer watching on a screen or on my phone. I want to be with people, so you go to a congregation. Some of you have tried that and realized it didn't work. You tried 3-4 different places, gave it a best shot, and just it doesn't work. But you tried. Why did you try? Because you wanted what you need. You felt you needed this want. You wanted fellowship. Okay, needs and wants. You felt like I need fellowship, but you didn't need it, but that's what you were driven for. And if you really needed it or really wanted it, eventually you moved here because that's where you can find it. This is where the people are that believe like you believe. Okay? People ask me all the time, well, what about this group? What about that group? I don't know what they're doing. But most of the ones I check out aren't doing this. They're doing some hybrid version of Torah-observant Christianity or Torah-observant Judaism, but they're not doing this. Mostly because the people leading those congregations haven't been doing this long enough and never put their mic down long enough to get trained by anybody. And so they're still teaching denominationally most of their doctrine. Only their observances have changed to whatever degree, to the feasts and the Sabbath and eating different, but all the rest of their beliefs about grace, salvation, about end times, about covenant or whatever, those things are all still whatever they were before. None of that's changed. That's why we call it the Messicostals, the Messabaptists, the Messa whatever, because it's Messianic, but it's still flavored. So instead of that being a flavor of the Messianic, it's really not just a Messianic version of Baptist or Pentecostal, whatever, Catholic, whatever it is. Simple mechanics is the only thing that changed. Why? Emotions. We've had a bunch of people, relatively a bunch, whatever, over the years, leave here because this was not emotional enough. I just don't feel the love there. Where's all the joy? In other words, where's the people freaking out and just exploding and crying and, somehow we become addicted to that. Now, of course, if you were Methodist and Baptist, maybe not, okay, because those guys are much more, the frozen chosen, but, okay. That's what they call themselves. They told me that, okay, so what can I tell you? All right? But if you came from anything, Assemblies of God or charismatic or, whatever, Pentecostal, you could easily have become addicted to all of that expression of emotion. And we have plenty of expressions of emotion here. I got a lot of teachings. I watch people crying sitting in the chairs. Now, I know some of that's because I hit their toes a little too hard. Some of it's because something resonated and unlocked something inside that they needed to deal with. So there's a lot of emotion. Plus, we have a lot of emotion in when we sing and when we dance to whatever degree. Maybe not to the over-the-top exuberance that you may experience somewhere else. But what is it that you're looking for? You're looking for a relationship and truth, or you're looking for a feeling? These people got caught up looking for a feeling. That's why they were enticed. Does that make any sense? And then you know what happens? You get hooked on a feeling. Do. I had to figure out a way to get a song reference in for you, Manny. All right? And it was, instead of the Uga Shaga version, it was the Ay 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 version. I don't know. It was just, What are you doing? They were hooked on a feeling. That's why people still do what they do. To answer Rabbi Tom's question, why do people still do what they do that they know probably they shouldn't do? Because there's a feeling that they are still stuck with. But just whatever comes after, they fill in the blank with whatever you would fill it in. It starts with but. Okay? But I like them. But this, but that. Oh, what about that teacher? Well, but that teacher was so important when I was first coming into this. Okay, so they did their job then. What do you need them now for? Now that you realize they're all off over here somewhere where you don't need to be. But, that's the goat thing. But, sheep and goats. So you know what I say when you say but? I go, bah. I don't want to hear that, bah. All right, that was an excellent point, Rabbi Tom, but that's really a huge problem. We're still ruled by our emotions. Almost every relationship call that I get, every call that I get where there's a relationship problem is because people have not figured out how to get their emotions under control. Either them or the person they're calling about, their spouse or whatever. It's all emotional stuff. Feelings getting hurt. Anyway, who's next? As we got our little group therapy session going again.
I actually have one for 27, 8 through 11.
Okay, Daniel, go ahead.
On the order of the inheritance, where's the wife in all this? And my second question is, should this still be observed when you're like filling out a will? Like if you have a boy and a girl of equal age, should everything go to the boy?
Okay, so what we see, this is now talking about the daughters of Selachad, okay? And so this is a man who didn't have any sons. And so we don't have this challenge now because societally we do not do what they did. In other words, when they had a transfer of the family stuff. When the head passed away, all of that would go to the firstborn, and the firstborn would then have to distribute and or take care of the rest of the people that way. There was the inheritance of the firstborn. We don't have that today. Today we do things like write in wills and decide what we want to give and everything else, because the concern here was land. Okay, land was given to the tribes. By the way, I didn't know Lot was that old. It says Lot distributed the land, or decided, what was he doing there? It said that the land was divided by Lot. That's in 2655. That man is older than I thought he was. I wrote that down today. I'm not ashamed or proud. Okay, so. Anyway, the daughter's situation was because if the daughters didn't have an inheritance, then you could marry your way into owning all the land, and you could have your children marry the daughters, and eventually you take all of that land and it becomes yours. And this was about taking over and losing an inheritance. They wanted the tribes to have their piece of property, okay, by tribe. The bigger ones had more, the lesser ones had less. And my father is calling me for some reason. I'll have to call him back. Okay. Or just ignore it. This is the piece that's there. Now, for Daniel's question, so today, we don't have land like that. You might own a house, but you might have owned different houses. You may have moved 3 or 4 times. You don't have something that's like the generational family piece of dirt or whatever that you own, that you then pass through the generations. All right? So you can divide out and give away, in your will, anything you want any way you want. That's your choice. You see that play out actually in Scripture quite a bit, because a lot of firstborns didn't get what they were supposed to get as firstborns. You see that happen actually all too often. All right? So today that would not apply that way. Okay? You can decide to give whatever you want to whoever you want as part of your will. If you write it down and get it legally done, that may or may not actually play out that way. You have to make sure that somebody actually knows where the will is and make sure that they know that it's official and has the authority to make sure to implement it the way you had wanted it done. If you have it and it gets buried somewhere and lost and nobody seems to know where it is, then they'll do just whatever they want, and then it doesn't play out that way. Then one day someone finds it, it's too late. Okay? So if you are going to have, for when you're gone, plans, you need to make sure that they're written down, done legally, so that they're filed appropriately, and that you have somebody you trust that would have a copy of it to make sure that it actually gets done the way you want. Now, thankfully, or for whatever reason, most of us don't have anything, so there's not a lot to worry about, okay? But if you happen to have, you should kind of make sure that it's clear how that's going to be distributed, okay? All right, and if you do so anyway, other than equally among all children, they will fight, and maybe you'll be giggling your way in the grave while they're fighting. If only you could see them when that was happening, that would be kind of fun. Because you may do that on purpose, knowing they're going to fight over it. Because they deserve that. I don't know. Okay? Next question or comment? Manny.
Yay, we made it to live stream.
Yep, and it's only 10 o'clock. Now you guys are really in trouble. I've already sung a song and made a movie reference. So.
Yeah, you did. Well played. Okay, we have in 25, Benjamin Burbank, 25:13. What was the everlasting priesthood promised to the seed of Pinchas? Is it tied to the role of the high priest?
25:13, the everlasting priesthood? Okay. There's 2 ways you can look at this, all right? You got to be careful with the idea of everlasting or forever. Okay? Scripturally, it means for as long as the necessary parameters exist. So what are the necessary parameters? Well, there needs to be a priesthood. So if there's a priesthood, then it will come down through Pinchas's line where the high priest will be. There will be a priesthood through his line. So it needs to be a temple, or there's no need for a priesthood. Okay? So as long as the parameters exist, that priesthood will be through that line. Does that help? Does that make sense? Okay? And you can expect that with the third temple, that will be the case in some way. All right? All right, next question.
Okay, Olivia and Janet Hoffman, chapter 25, verses 14 and 15. Wondering about the noting of the names. Was this for us to remember what not to do? And what can we learn from Pinchas for those of us not in a position of leadership?
Okay, I think I addressed that. As far as the names, I don't have really anything I really add because they happen to mention Zimri and Cosby, but as far as the leadership thing, I covered that.
Okay.
Okay.
Shelley would like to know in chapter 25, they were intermingling, but it's not a racial thing, correct?
There's no racial thing in this whatsoever. This is all about those that are not in covenant trying to lead you out of covenant into a covenant with something else. All right, it had nothing to do with the color of skin or nationality or any of that. So I know there's probably groups out there that would use this for that, which is horrifically just sad, okay? This is not racial. This is not national. This is simply covenanted people and everybody else. That's the way Scripture has two groups of people, covenanted people and everybody else. And the everybody else could be people of the same nationality, the same race, whatever, who happen to choose not to be covenanted. So there's those in covenant, and then there's everybody else. You have those from the tribes, the 12 tribes, that decided not to be covenanted. So their race and their nationality didn't help them at all. That's part of what Paul talks about when he tries to explain all of this. Romans 11 has a lot to do with that, okay? As far as talking about the wild tree grafted into the base of the root of the tree, okay? So the wild branches into the natural. But he also talks about them being grafted back into, those that were out, who had been broken off, can get back in. The ones that are broken off are clearly of the right nationality or race, if that was so important. But that wasn't important at all, was it? Okay? And so, yeah, we have to be careful that we don't read that into it. Okay? Let's not read that into it. All right, who's next?
Okay, next one's on 26, chapter 26, 53 and 56. Do these verses have a link to inheritance and Revelations 144,000, since there's details of 12,000 in each tribes, tribe fathers' names?
Probably not. Okay, I was going to come right out and say no. This is all about the land itself and dividing the physical space. Okay? And by the way, here you have Dan included, there you don't in Revelation, okay? So just realize that there's a slight difference between the 12 listed there. You get the double portion for Joseph there, you don't get that here. Okay?
Okay, chapter 27, Olivia and Janet Hoffman. What does the right ruling of the Urim mean?
Did we even have that in this chapter? Where was that?
27:21.
27:21. And he is to stand before Eleazar the priest, who is to inquire before Yahweh for him of the right ruling of the Urim. Okay, there was, did I write this in my notes anywhere? I did not. Okay, there was the Urim and the Thummim, and these were things that were on the priest's garment, and these were things that we don't understand at this point how they were used, but they were used to get answers from Yahweh. Okay, so how that was communicated, I don't know. I mean, think of it as a legitimate magic 8-ball. I don't know. I mean, you'd ask the question, shake the ball, and the answer. I mean, I don't know how those would work, but they would ask and they would get answers utilizing this device, whatever it was. We do not know. Okay, it's a good question, though, because that's something I've wondered. Okay, what's the deal with these two things that the high priest had to get answers from Yahweh through? I don't know if they would glow a certain way or there was something, but okay. Good question.
Okay, chapter 28 got Philip Mason, 28, 1 and 2. Were the people bringing these offerings, or were the priests offering these at the appointed times, and how does this apply to us today?
It doesn't apply to us today. But how this is being done, do you have an answer for that? No. We don't know. I was looking at the Rebbitzin because she's been really, it's a struggle to figure out how to share this with the children in the Parsha Pearls program. Yeah. So the priests are doing all the offerings, but the people are bringing them there. But how they are worked out and how they're done has to go back to what we read in the book of Leviticus and the training that the priests would have had, because not every detail of everything is actually in the book here. Okay? A lot of it was passed down, from practitioner to practitioner. All right?
Okay, another one for 28. Freya would like to know, actually, this is an observation that she made. In chapter 28, as Rabbi said, the Father is very detailed, and a balanced meal contains protein, which is meat, carbs, which is grain, and oil, which is fat. Everything for a healthy body to work to its potential.
And you drink it down with a glass of wine. Very good.
Okay, Naomi in Numbers 28, 11, and 15. I noticed that on Rosh Chodesh, they were to offer burnt offerings to Adonai. In our time now, is this equivalent to giving the offering to the congregation that we attend to as an offering?
Look, there are two types of things that you're responsible for in some way. Maaser and Truma. Okay? Maaser is the tithes and Truma is the offerings. Now, you have specific instruction about this in several places, including like Deuteronomy 16:16, where it says 3 times a year you come and you don't come empty-handed, but you bring an offering. Okay? And those offerings are able to be changed into money, and then you could use it in different ways, and you can give it in, it doesn't have to be here, this many bulls, this many lambs, this many rams, etc. Now, you can use it to buy those things when you get there, etc. But remember, this stuff here is dealing with temple service. And so there's one thing to do temple service, and you bring in, remember, you have volunteer offerings, you have some of the mandatory offerings that were being done on a regular basis for the temple. Okay, the tithe and the offerings that still apply to us today are the ones that are not temple related. So when you're to give an offering based on how you're blessed, that's something that will go directly to the Levites. Or if you go back to the Melchizedek and you saw Abraham doing these things with Melchizedek, okay? Those things would apply today, and we can see that would transfer. These other ones that we're reading about here are very specifically for the function of the temple. No temple, rendered moot, as they say, right? Look up the word moot, M-O-O-T. So it's no longer applicable at this time. It's not been done away with, just not doable. So when you ask, well, how would we apply this today? You can't. Okay? But if you want to apply the thought process, well, they had to be diligent to do these things. You be diligent with the things you're supposed to do. There are offerings that you're to still make, and there are tithing that you're supposed to still do. Those are somewhat connected, like this is, to support the work of the priesthood. We're just under a different priesthood right now. Okay, a Melchizedekian one, which is what the book of Hebrews is trying to explain. Which changed nothing but the priesthood. It didn't change the laws, didn't change the Torah, didn't change anything. Okay? Go ahead. Next question.
Okay, I've got 4 more. These are general questions, which are questions regarding tonight's reading, but they didn't
Tell you
put
what
any
verse.
chapter or verse initially. So we have one from Peter Carl. He wants to know, how do the daily and Shabbat sacrifices translate to us now as priests of Yeshua? Is it that we could do morning and evening prayers? Should we pray the Amidah and Shema at these times?
Okay, they don't apply they were done in like kind. You see Daniel doing this, okay? He wasn't at the temple, but he was doing prayers at the same times that would have been for the morning and afternoon offerings, okay? So you see him kind of doing that to remind him when they would get back to the temple. There are people that do, even within the Messianic, will do the Amidah and the Shema, during the same times of the morning and afternoon prayers. Would it be wrong to do that? No. Do you need to do that? No. Okay, so it's again, these are things that you can do, and but there's no scriptural requirement for them. But there are things that people have done by tradition to remind them of the twice-a-day offerings. The Jewish community still will stop what they're doing in the morning to have prayer, and in the afternoon to have prayer, and in their communities during the work hours, a lot of them will shut down their business to go and do this privately, or they'll, because there's only certain things you can do privately, but they'll go and find the one designated spot that they all agreed to kind of, amongst themselves, and then they all show up at that person's storefront, and they spend their quick few minutes doing the afternoon prayers, and then the store closes for that period of time and then opens back up. My wife and I were in the Jewish section in Queens one time in New York, and we happened to be in a store right at that time, and they said, "Attention everybody, just excuse me, we're going to be closed here for about 10 minutes. And so everybody understood, and a bunch of the guys, the men from the neighborhood walked in. They had enough for what they call a minyan, which is to have 10 guys, and they went ahead and had their prayers. Didn't last very long, and then they left, and that was the end of it. And they just opened the store, went right back to business. Julie Rebbitzin worked for a dentist that would, close during that time, and he'd go into his office and then come out, after he had, he was an Orthodox Jew. And so these are things we can do. There's nowhere and by the way, there's nowhere at all that says, well, if you're going to kind of do something to remember the offerings of the temple, then what you need to do is the Amidah and the Shema. There's no scripture for that. There's no reference to show that anybody ever did that in the scripture. There may be references to that in other extra biblical writings, but there's nothing here to show them doing that. Okay? Hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely. Okay, next one is Connie. She wanted to know why a goat as a sin offering in these chapters. Is this symbolic in some way?
All of this goes back to the offerings as explained in Leviticus. Okay?
We have another one from Lisa Hersey. You might have answered this one too. It says, Rabbi, what were the ascending and sins offerings for?
Again, go back to Leviticus, the first 5 chapters when these things are explained.
Okay. And last one.
Or go listen to the Torah portion when we explain it. Okay? Which would have been the first Torah portion in Leviticus.
Okay. And the last one here from Peter. If a leader who is appointed, and this is regarding something you were talking about earlier, if a leader who is appointed and anointed in a church are saying and doing what is not according to Torah, are we obliged to seek better Torah authority mentors?
I think you need better definitions of your terms. What does it mean to be anointed and appointed? Okay, if they're the Sunday church pastor, they're not anointed and appointed by Yah. They are anointed and appointed by the seminary they went to, or by the church they went to, or self-appointed and self-anointed. But the anointed, appointed person is going to be teaching with authority the words of Yah. Okay, so your definition of anointed, appointed is the problem. Just saying. Okay? All right, so that's really we get hung up. So do we need to be listening to these guys because they're anointed, appointed? Just because someone says they are doesn't make them anointed, appointed. Just because they have a business card that says apostle on it doesn't make them one. Okay, or evangelist, or whatever big name they want to put on their business card. So hopefully that, you have a job to do. It's called to ask Yah to show you who's who. Okay? But then if you're shown, you need to respect what you were shown. People have a challenge with that because they're shown initially, and then they don't like something because their feelings get hurt, and then all of a sudden they decide that person must not be anointed because after all, he hurt my feelings. I read the Bible. Anointed, appointed hurt people's feelings on a very regular basis. Matter of fact, they don't seem a whole lot of they don't seem to have a whole lot of concern about whether or not someone's feelings are going to get hurt. They want to get you safely from point A to point B. And make sure you're paying attention when they're doing it. And so, just let's be careful with that. By the way, the one thing that nobody did mention, that was the last one you had, right? Okay. In 27:18, it says that Yehoshua had the Ruach. Just so for those people to say, from the Christian point of view, that, the Holy Spirit didn't show up until Acts chapter 2. Well, 27:18 says, and Yahweh said to Moses, take Yehoshua son of Nun with you, a man in whom is the Ruach. Remember earlier when they spied the land, it said that Joshua and Caleb had a different spirit. Okay? So I believe it was talking about Caleb in the Numbers earlier chapters, and here it tells you Joshua similarly. That's how you have them both. So it only mentions one the first time. I think they mentioned Caleb, and here it mentions Joshua. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you're going to talk to people that don't think, oh, well, they didn't have the Holy Spirit. Really? You don't read your Bible very well. Okay? The Holy Spirit was at the beginning in Genesis 1. And in John 1. All the way through to Acts chapter 2, when there was a very special pouring out of it. But it was always there. And it was accessible. And there were those that had it, or they couldn't have done the things they did. Okay? You need to recognize, this is how you can, part of how you recognize the Holy Spirit and also recognizing anointed appointeds. When they're doing something you should know they could not be doing on their own strength. When they have words, they can't possibly just be their words. Understanding, they can't possibly just be their understanding. I've said this story often, how we had a guy in the congregation who came from a charismatic or Pentecostal, whatever it was, background, and he insisted that I wasn't qualified to lead because I didn't speak in tongues, which in his mind meant I didn't have the Spirit. And I said, so you think that these teachings that I do are all on my strength? And I started laughing. And so that's your choice. Either I'm, whatever you think, this good or whatever it is, or this is the Ruach that you see working with me. I'm not claiming anything. That's your choice to figure out. Okay? But if you're impressed with the words that come out of my mouth, you have only two choices. They're mine or they're his. There's no third choice. And that's what you need to use to help figure out and measure what you're doing. See, Joshua and Caleb sounded like him. Come on, he says, let's go, so let's go. What are we waiting for? He says, it's great, it's great. There's nothing to fear. That didn't come out of their strength. That came out of their submission to his strength. So yeah, Joshua and Caleb get a part in this. Just like I get a part in this. What do I get a part in this? I was willing to be a vessel. You get to have a part in this when you're willing to be a vessel. As your part is to be a willing vessel. See, Joshua and Caleb were the only two that were willing to be the vessel. They all had access. But you had to get off the throne first. And Joshua and Caleb were willing to get off that throne. Let the Ruach win. That's it. Lead. What are you doing? Okay, that's how are you handling this? But the same thing comes to your teachers. Just because you like someone's personality and the way they deliver something and whatever, doesn't mean they're anointed, appointed, and they're appropriately their teachers. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that will give you a lot gentler, warm fuzzies than I do. That doesn't make them right or wrong. It just actually should be not a factor at all whether or not you figure out whether they're right or wrong. Look at the information. Is it his words and his power and his strength, or is it theirs? Is it tainted by denominationalism and some other, wherever they came from? That's what you got to figure out. That's all on you. It's not. Don't come to me and ask me to figure it out for you. I'm not going to take your job. You've got a job to do. Ephesians 4, you got to figure out who those fivefold ministry guys are and find them and get under them. That's what you need to do. All right, anybody else? I ran out of mics to drop, so I'm done. All right, let's go ahead and close this up in prayer. After all, it's almost 10:30, so we're doing good. It seems like 10:30 is now our official closing time because apparently your rabbi talks way too much. And so an hour is just never enough time for me to talk. Okay, so who wants to close us up? Okay, Manny in the back. Go ahead. You go ahead and close us up. Okay,
Abba, Father.
Hold on. We'll just get everybody to stand up so they can.
Abba, Father, we thank you and come before you. Thank you for being so incredibly amazing to us, more than we deserve. Abba, thank you for your Torah. Thank you for your word. Thank you for your Son. Thank you for everything that you give us. Abba, help us to be strengthened through your words tonight. Help us to be encouraged and to just put our stuff in our feelings bag. So many of us are hurting out there and so many needs in the body. Help us to continually serve. Help this ministry to stand strong. Thank you for our teacher tonight. Thank you for the words that you've spoken to him, through him. Abba, I just ask for everybody's safety as we go home. Thank you again for this family. And those that need to move to here, may you speak to them and get them here quickly. In Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. If you guys want to come up here, we got a small enough group. You can come up here and we'll get on camera. We'll wave at everybody. All right. And then look up at Rick in case he'll might tell you to move over and squeeze in or whatever you need to do. Have you guys all had your temperatures checked and your screening done before you could stand near me? Okay.
I've been tested twice.
All right. I think we got just about everybody who wants to be on camera. Are we good, Rick? All right. So on 3, we are going to wish everybody a Laila Tov, which is good night. Shavua Tov is a good week. And we're going to tell them we love them. Here we go. 1.